When I started working, I wanted to make manager quickly. But when I did, I realized that I had no idea how to lead. Now, with over 20 years of leadership experience in 2 countries and different industries, I'm still learning. Today, I'm taking apart my third leadership view that leadership is not a destination we arrive at, but rather a journey with a series of waypoints. And this will conclude my mini-series of 3 parts on my leadership tenets. Welcome to another episode of Visor Up. This is the podcast for managers, founders, execs, and the leaders of tomorrow. I'm Steve Muscatat-Sopardi, author of Your Leadership Ride, a book that uses motorbike riding as a metaphor for leadership. With more than 20 years in management and executive roles, I help leaders cultivate resilience. Why is it called Visor Up? Because on a bike, the visor is your shield. It protects you from the elements outside. But if we want to speak, that shield has to go. This podcast is about lifting the protective layer of management speak and getting down to the honest, gritty truth of what it takes to lead. Visor up, let's go. Early in my career, my plan was to get promoted ASAP. I thought, make more money, lead a team, we're made. I was lucky with the circumstances. I worked hard and actually made it. And then I realized that being promoted to manager did not mean I knew how to lead. I received training, but little guidance. It was only when I changed jobs and found a manager who took the time to lead me rather than manage me in the traditional sense that I actually started to learn how to lead. You see, you manage things, processes, systems, projects, but you lead people. I'd storm into my manager's office, upset at something or other. He would listen to me. He'd sit there calmly, letting me blow off steam until I felt daft being angry while he's so chill. Then he would ask me questions. He'd challenge my answers. I would get frustrated. We had no time to mess about. In wealth management, mistakes are expensive and they hit your reputation. If he knew what he wanted, if he had the answer, why not just tell me? But then I would leave his office. I'd go and pace outside, insulting him in my head. Then I would realize that my answers to his questions had been defensive. I had been listening just to respond, not to reflect and think more deeply. So once I answered those questions honestly, humbly, at least to myself, the truth of the situation became clear. So the actions I had to take also became clear. Later, I found myself mimicking his actions. I stopped giving instructions and started asking questions. But doing that in real time is incredibly difficult, especially when you are busy. When someone comes to you frustrated or stuck, your reflex is to fix it. So the first practical step I had to learn, and what I recommend to you, is understanding the science of the pause. When emotions run high, our brains literally narrow our focus to fight or flight, okay? When my manager refused to give me the answer and just held that space with a question, he forced my brain to slow down. So when your team member finishes venting, count to 3 in your head before you speak. It feels like an absolute eternity. It really feels like forever. But it stops you from reflexively giving a directive, an instruction. The pause forces your brain out of fix-it mode, your instinct to give the solution. And it creates the space to ask, what do you think is our best option here? You have to master that pause. Because the risk is, as time passes and we gain experience, it's easy to grow complacent in our leadership skills. We experience different situations that faze us at first, but then once we've lived them, we add them to our mental database of how we handle things. So when the situation occurs again, we think, aha, I've seen this one before, and this is how I'll handle it. After all, if a course of action worked last time, why not this time too? This style of thinking is rigid and makes us weaker leaders. Consider a motorbike rider who takes a corner badly and nearly loses control. The inexperienced rider laughs and thinks, haha, I nearly lost it there, but I managed to save it. I am such a good rider. The rider who wants to be better will stop, heart pumping, and ask themselves, what did I do there? What on earth did I do wrong? They want to understand what specific action or actions they either did or failed to do, so that it never happens again. They never want to be in such a dangerous situation again. Not if they can help it. So in business, experience alone does not make us better leaders. That only comes through experience upon which we have reflected. This is the difference between having 10 years of experience versus having 1 year of experience repeated 10 times. It's the danger of assuming that pattern recognition is wisdom. The thing is, humans are complex. The market shifts. The context changes. If you rely only on your mental databases of situations that you've handled without considering the current nuances, you're just running on autopilot. So what does this mean? It means we take the time to look honestly at what we did and challenge ourselves. Did I listen before I spoke? Did I consider any alternatives before I jumped into action? Did I act in that way because it's the right thing or because it's the easy way? Was it in the overall best interest of the stakeholders or was it good for me? Then, like the wise rider, as we ask these questions and think about it honestly, we identify what we did, what worked or what did not work. I might realize that I did not seek an opposing view, so I rushed in with my default solution, only to realize later that in this particular situation, there was a risk or a downside that I did not see. Now here's a practical tip. You need to build a system for reflection because it's not going to happen by accident. It's a habit you build with 2 actions. First, the micro-reflections. Every time you feel, wow, that went well, or, that was a train wreck, don't stop there. Think. For the wins, ask yourself what went well. What was the specific key to success? What did we do right over here? Was it an action? Was it a conversation? Was it an instruction? Same for the fails, or maybe not fails, but occasions that certainly could have gone better. Again, ask yourself, what went wrong? Did I misread the room? Did I push too hard or not hard enough? Try to pin down the reason it went badly. And now here's the important part. Write them down. These mini reflections you need to write down in a diary, a note on your phone, send yourself an email. It doesn't matter, but keep a record of them. The second action is when you go through all of those reflections. Block out 15 minutes on your Friday afternoon or whenever your work week ends. Gather all those notes and look at them again. Ask yourself a few questions about the week. What was your biggest wobble this week? Did you react out of ego or did you respond with purpose? Did you respond on autopilot or did you think about it? If you were to face that exact same situation next week, what is the one thing you would do differently? Write it down and share these with your team. If you found a win, if you have found something that works well, you need to talk about it. You need to tell your team, guys, this is what good looks like. This is what someone did that worked well. This is what led to the success. And conversely, of course, you try to avoid the ones that went wrong. So this is how you reflect intentionally on your work, and then you convert your experience into lessons, and lessons that you can share with your team and with your peers. That is how you become a wiser leader. The aim is not to pursue some idea of perfection that is unattainable, but to approach leadership like a rider who can take the same corner again and again, and always tries to refine their line every time they take it, a little smoother, a little safer. And as I say that, we also need to be aware that improvement is not linear. We will do better, then we handle something in a way that, we could certainly have done better, and that's fine. With the humility to accept that we get it wrong, that our way is not always the right way, we reflect on it, we understand what we can improve, and next time around, we'll tackle it differently. And that is my view that leadership is a waypoint. It's not a static point that one reaches like a destination. A quick recap of the tools I mentioned. 1. Master the pause. Stop reflexively fixing problems. Count to 3, step out of fix-it mode and ask a question instead. 2. Beware of the autopilot trap. Don't let your career become 1 year of experience repeated 10 times. Pattern recognition is not the same as wisdom. 3. Make your inflection intentional. Stop leaving your growth to chance. Take those few minutes to write down your wins and your wobbles as you go along, and then reflect on them properly later. Refine your line. Thank you for joining me. I look forward to the next episode of Visor Up. My question to you is this: are you still learning, or have you let yourself grow rigid?